So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! The Detroit Lions ended day 3 of the NFL Draft with a splash, selecting Boston College's Christian Mahogany with a 210th overall selection in the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, this pick came to a surprise to many Detroit Lions fans and many fans of NFL teams around the league, as before the pre-draft process, Christian Mahogany was genuinely looked at as a top 10 player at his position and potentially a top 150 prospect in the entirety of the NFL Draft. Sitting at 6'3", 314 pounds, Christian Mahogany is the ideal size for an offensive tackle in the NFL. And looking at his athletic ability, he is right up there with some of the most athletic guards the league has seen in recent memory. Recording a 9.64 RAS score and grading out with elite explosiveness, great speed, and great agility, Christian Mahogany was not only one of the most productive guards this season in the draft, but he was one of the league's most athletic guards at the position. Again, despite Christian Mahogany being graded as the overall guard 6th in this class and consensusly a top 150 player, he wasn't selected until the 46th offensive lineman was taken off the board in the 6th round and wasn't selected again until the 210th overall spot. That is nearly a 70 spot fall from where he was projected and about 40 offensive linemen too late from where he was supposed to be. So why is Christian Mahogany such a faller in this draft class, and why did the Detroit Lions end up getting a guy that was supposed to start on day 1 for a majority of Lions in the league, but now has to sit a year and wait behind one of the league's best? Well, taking a look at Christian Mahogany's athletic ability a little bit closer, it's easy to see why a lot of people were high on him. A 32.5-inch vert is an elite vertical for an offensive tackle or an offensive guard. His 9'1" broad jump is measured again in the 90th percentile for guards since they've been tracking it. His 40-yard dash was graded out to be a great time with a 5.13 in the 86th percentile, and his 10-yard split of a 1.74 graded in the 92nd percentile. So he's up there as a 90 percentile athlete and higher, with having some great athletic ability to display for NFL teams. His agility, again, was great, but not quite elite, as his shuttle time was a fantastic score of 4.53 seconds, but his three-cone brings that down a little bit with a 7.81 three-cone drill, which obviously is not the best for an offensive lineman, but still all around a very, very good, a very athletic prospect. A 9.64 RAS score overall is nothing to be ashamed of, and it is honestly a really, really impressive feat, especially considering the 6'3" really weighs his RAS score down a little bit for being a little bit undersized for the guard position, but not necessarily underweight for the guard position. So maybe Christian Mahogany is just a raw prospect, right? Maybe he's just a raw athlete that everybody kind of looked past because it's going to take 2 or 3 years to develop him. Well, that's not necessarily true either, as Christian Mahogany last year not only played 2 positions on the Boston College offensive line, being both right guard and right tackle for the Eagles, but in 422 pass blocking snaps for Boston College a season ago, he allowed just 7 hurries on the quarterback and didn't allow his quarterback to be hit even once. Not a single quarterback hit nor a quarterback sack was recorded off of Christian Mahogany last year, and he graded out at the end of the year with a 74.9 overall Pro Football Focus grade, which again puts him right up there with some of the better guards and better offensive linemen in the NFL. There really isn't a weakness to Christian Mahogany's game. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, he run blocks really well, he pass blocks really well, he's a great athlete. He's not even incredibly old, being one of the younger offensive linemen in this class, being a theme of the draft class this season. there really isn't a whole lot of reasons as to why Christian Mahogany was supposed to be a late round selection. But for one reason or another, partially due to because of the positional value of guard, partially due to the abundance of offensive tackles and offensive linemen in this draft, partially just due to the fact that he really didn't have too much hype in the media this offseason, Mahogany continued to fall and fall and fall and fall. And at the 210th pick, Brad Holmes decided to stop the fall, take a future starting offensive lineman in the league, and stash him away for a year under a rookie contract until he gets used in year 2. For most teams, Christian Mahogany would be a day 1 starter. For most teams, he would be a plug and play guy that you could find on day 3 of the NFL draft, put into your right guard position, and keep business as usual. But for the Detroit Lions, sitting behind both Kevin Zeitler and Graham Glasgow and potentially Coyote Awaska this season, Christian Mahogany might not even be a top 3 option for the Detroit Lions at a starting guard spot. He'll be competing likely with fellow rookie and 3rd round pick Giovanni Manu, as well as 5th round selection last year in Colby Sorsdale for that guard position. So while I do think he will be a year 2 starter, there's a good chance that he might not even get that because the offensive line depth is so good on this football team. I think Christian Mahogany is a fantastic player. I honestly think he went to a very, very poor situation for a team if he wanted to play early. But I think for the long term, this is going to be a guy that everybody's going to look back on in a couple of years and say, how did the Lions, a team with an elite offensive line already, find this guy in the 6th round, right? When he's a 3-year starter going up for a big contract, much like Jonah Jackson just did. A lot of people are going to ask, how did this guy fall to the 6th round? How did this 3-year starter on a rookie contract get this type of production from a 6th round selection? And the answer is simply because he shouldn't have been there in the 6th round. Now, there's been a lot of speculation as to why he may have fallen, as to why Mahogany was a 6th round pick in general. And the only real thing I could think of is that he might be dealing with some injury that most people are unaware of, right? There must be some off the field thing that keeps him from being a high draft pick, because everything from the tape to the numbers to the statistics and the measurables, everything that you would look at on paper and on a film of Christian Mahogany would let you believe that he would have been a day 2 selection, if not a very, very early day 3 selection by any NFL team in need of offensive line help. And believe me, there are many, but he continued to fall. Now, we know it's not a personality issue, because if it was, the Detroit Lions probably wouldn't have drafted him. We know it's not a talent issue because he was a consensus All-American. He was a 2nd-team All-American. He was an All-ACC lineman for the last several years, and he was one of the ACC's best offensive linemen that they had to offer from Boston College, right? So we know it's not a tape thing. We know it's not a personality thing. We know it's not an off the field issues thing, because that would have broken as well as probably taken him off the board for the Detroit Lions. So the only thing it could possibly be is that there was some kind of injury concern that teams are concerned about. Now, what that may be, I personally have no idea. I don't know if he's currently suffering with an injury. I'm not sure if he suffered one at the end of the season, if he suffered one in the offseason, if there is some medical red flag that came out. But there is something about Christian Mahogany that the media and the fans do not know, and NFL teams must have been aware of. Because in order for this caliber of talent to go in the 6th round, something had to be wrong. And there's no way, just based off of positional value and the devaluation of the guard position, that a player of this caliber, an easy top 50, easy 150 prospect, falls to 210. There's just no way it happens without something off the record having been a factor. So with that being said, we don't know what that is. We are not sure where Christian Mahogany would have fallen if he would have been a UDFA had the Lions not selected him. But from everything I have seen, all the measurables, all the statistics, all the tape, this is one of the best value pickups in the draft. I think Christian Mahogany, come year 2, when Kevin Zeitler retires, will be a starting guard for the Detroit Lions. And I think it is going to be a very, very big steal by the Detroit Lions and by Brad Holmes yet again on day 3. But with all of that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below how you would grade this pick. What do you think is wrong with Christian Mahogany? How do you feel like he's going to fare in the NFL? Do you think he can be a starting guard for the Detroit Lions come a year or 2 down the line when Zeitler and Glasgow are both gone? I'd be very curious what you guys have to say and what you guys think about it. But with all of that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.